Okay, we are live.
We
Welcome.
are alive.
We are live, yeah. Welcome, everybody, to the ninth session of Revolution Live. And today I have with me again Elik. Hi, Elik.
Hi, Alon.
Um, uh,
Hi, audience.
yes, we don't have an audience at this specific time, but hopefully there will be more people who join us very soon. Um, And today we wanted to do something a little bit different than usual. One person here. Hello, nice to see you. And we wanted to do something a little bit different today. We're going to be reading an article. Here is the article. Are we struggling for justice by Simone Weil? Um, I'm going to send a link to the article very soon when we start reading it, and we're going to use it as some kind of stepping stone for our usual discussions about issues of justice, of revolution, of peace, of I don't know, equality, and so forth and so on. But before that, Eric, you wanted to do some kind of exercise, right?
I forgot about it. Yeah, we're doing it.
I think we are. I want to say that I'm feeling not very well physically and emotionally and mentally in the last few days, and like I feel a little bit exhausted from everything, and maybe a lot of people feel like this. And Elik, you think you had some kind of small revelation, right?
Yeah. Um, yeah, I'm developing something for a long time now. That it's kind of method of meditation, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And it's helping me a lot to stay sane in these
Mm-hmm.
crazy times.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a solution for everything, but I think um, like it's kind of a way to feel more in touch with reality, with the senses, with the body, with the here and now,
Mm-hmm.
in a way that I don't feel that is detached, like on spiritual methods that want to kind of isolate your consciousness from like the problems of the world, of the injustice. And we're
Yes.
talking about revolution, about injustice, um and the idea, it's kind of method that I call it, instead of it, I call it worldfulness. Like you have mindfulness
Mm-hmm.
meditation, which is kind of, I feel it's a way to take spirituality and to kind of isolate your consciousness and try to be, kind of only connected to the mind. And I have a lot of problems with my body. It started when I had a hand pain that I couldn't play my instruments.
Yes, when you were studying music, right,
Yeah,
and they kind of forced you to
yeah,
move your body in a certain way, right?
yeah. And then I tried to find the ways to play my instrument in a way that is more connected to my body sensation and to the signals that I get from my nervous system.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we can try, but my problem is that I do it, I exercise it myself, but I don't know how to communicate to others. And you suggested that I will do first, try to do it here, right? That's, you said,
Yes.
why won't you try to do it on
Yes.
the live before we start, as kind of
I know that it could help me, and I want to say a few words before we start um, about like spirituality. Okay, like both Elik and myself found ourselves spending time in the Israeli spiritual community or hippie community or New Age community, whatever you want to call it, for years, and it's a weird accident that we never met before that because we have a lot of common acquaintances from this community. Um, and I always had an ambivalent relationship with this community and the kind of messages and practices that exist there. And on one hand, I really love the fact that they try to be connected to their body, to their senses, to the world around them, to the here and now, to something that is deeper, that is higher, that is even, sacred in some sense. And we're going to discuss ideas that are close to this in the article that we're going to read. Um, but something about it seemed very fake and detached to me as well, on the other hand. And I think that this detachment, it's characteristic of Buddhist practices as well, and meditation practices as well. It's apolitical in some sense, and I think that anything that is apolitical is necessarily fake, especially when we're in a world where oppression is all around us and violence is all around us. So it's detached and it's fake.
Yeah. Especially when you live in
a fucking
apartheid
colonialist
regime.
Yeah. And it's no accident that in this Israeli spiritual community, there are never, ever any Palestinians. Ever. Never. Just, I never saw a single Palestinian ever.
Yeah, actually, Osama from Salt of the Earth,
Okay,
this guy, Osama,
I don't know.
It's a friend. Both of them are friends of mine. They are touring the US.
Osama and Rotem.
Yeah, and Osama told me that for a while, he got to know Israelis because of his activism.
Mm-hmm.
He is a member of Combatant for Peace. He was a combatant. He was fighting against the occupation, and he decided to collaborate with the anti-Zionist Israelis in order to create one-state solution. He's an amazing person.
Yes.
And he always told me that he was shocked by how, when he got to know Israelis, he went to Pardes Chana. It's a place where there's a lot of Israelis, hippies.
Yes, Pardes Chana is like jokingly the Mecca of the Israeli hippie community.
Yeah, and he was always like, he said how on one hand they accepted him as individual, and they were nice and welcoming, and he did all the hippie shit with them. And he said, but they were so ignorant about the occupation, and he said, and they didn't want to know. And every time I was speaking about it, they were like kind of blocked. Like they accepted me, but they didn't want to hear. And then and I wonder, because it's something I heard from Palestinians also in America, that like they're being accepted, but when they talk about the occupation, or they talk about colonization, like people's minds go, kind of
the gaze look,
and they kind of push it away by stupid like sayings like that this is complicated, I don't understand it.
Yes.
And I wonder why this happens, but
Indy Nile told us similar things about the Netherlands.
And they can love you, that they can accept you, but then when you bring the injustice that they are part of, and Americans also part of it, like people don't want to face the discomfort when they're faced that they're part of system, when they're the privileged one. They want to pretend we're all equals, like and it takes us to what we're gonna do after.
But I think this is very characteristic, like the thing that you're describing that Osama told you. I relate to it. I felt like they accepted me, but only when I didn't bring the parts of me that they didn't accept. like you can just detach from parts of you that are problematic in this community, and then you will be accepted, and you get all the love and the cuddling and the the sanctity and the rituals and the exercises and the blah 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 blah, everything, you get it. But you have to erase a part of yourself. And I think that when I look at this community and about how fake I see the people in this community in retrospective, I think they were all kind of taking a part of themselves out. They just couldn't bring a part, and then I felt like everything there was very, very fake. They were talking about peace and love, but they couldn't bring like like it's not okay to be negative there. Only it's only okay to be negative if you are looking at your dark side or some other bullshit. That they have all kinds of mechanisms and they even speak about spiritual bypasses. But even speaking about spiritual bypasses is spiritual bypass. Okay, we can do a whole episode about this fake spirituality and so forth and so on. But let's go to do this exercise that is trying to be something different, right?
I don't know. Maybe it's different. Maybe it's not, because it is basic. Maybe I just talk about it.
Yeah. But 1 second.
I
Let's
want
see.
to look at some stuff.
I want to say hello to everybody who are with us now. We have like 25, 30 people here. So hello to everybody.
Hi, everyone.
Um,
Hello from Emirates.
yeah.
Nice.
Okay. We will read comments later. Maybe let's start with this. Let's try. Okay. So I think you have a lot of things that you can bring, and this is like also a laboratory where we can test some stuff and see.
Hope it will work for something. Maybe not. Let's see.
Yeah, and I invite the audience to try to participate, even though it's through this medium of YouTube and the internet. Let's try to participate in any case. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so how do I start? Big part of this method approach, I don't know, is based on the notion that our consciousness, the world, and our body is connected. And they're actually not separate from each other. And this is like it could be a philosophical notion that you can talk about, but how do we make it concrete in our immediate experience?
I also think it's obviously factually true.
Yeah,
it's just obviously factually true that this thing is a part of like my body, your body is a part of existence. My brain is a part of existence. My consciousness is a part of existence. Your consciousness is a part of existence.
Right.
Obviously.
It's kind of stating the obvious in a way.
Yes.
So what let's go down a bit to examine our body sensations and how it meets the outside world. Okay, like we're sitting on a sofa, so for example, to feel the places where the body touches the sofa and kind of pay attention to that. And just go scanning our sensation and kind of notice that everything you feel is a mixture, like it's your body, it's your experience, but when you feel like you feel something on each point of your body, right? But when you feel like what happens, for example, when I go on the sensation of my hands, I feel the touch with the air. And actually, you cannot tell exactly you have no existence actually that you can separate from the touch with the outside world.
Yeah, where does I stop?
Yeah.
And where does the outside begin? I don't know. There's no way of really defining this.
Yeah, we think like there's inside world and outside world, but if you examine it in your experience, it's all mixed up.
Yes.
So let's just think about this notion, meditate it for a while, and feel and examine it in different ways of your experience. I have this instinct of closing eyes, but you don't have to close the eyes. You can look around and think about it, or it's in every aspect that we interact with the world around us. So see if you can kind of experience it in your own experience. And if you have some thoughts, you can say.
So maybe a little bit more specific instructions because we're getting dead air here.
Right. It's funny because I'm kind of loose. Okay. Funny.
We have to remember that we are on YouTube
yeah,
now, and
on
like
YouTube
people
Live.
are looking.
I'm going inside my own experience.
Yes.
All right. And so this is okay. This is one thing, and another thing that notion that I'm thinking of, that we have like nervous system, right? That gives us like signals all the time.
Yes. Yes.
And actually, if you paying attention to it, it's always has some instruction to you what your body wants to do, and it could be very subtle, but there's many ways when it can make you feel in slight ways better.
Yes.
And I want you to go through your body and try to ask yourself, okay, what do I feel here? What does my nervous system or my signals that I get tells me that will make me feel slightly better?
It's weird that you say here, because here I woke up, I probably slept wrong or something, and I have a tight muscle here.
Okay.
Very tight muscle, and I've been walking around like this all day, like I have some sort of disability.
Yeah.
I've been walking funny all day.
And like maybe we don't need to like, I want to tell the people who watch it that we are part of what I'm trying to do while I live my life is to be much more aligned with what my body tells me, and we're trained that, like, let's say you go to work, you sit, you go to study, and many people who knows me see that a lot of time I'm talking, but I start doing stuff, right? Like I'm not, because I don't think there's one way that we're supposed to be, but we're constantly being taught that we have to be in
I feel like this
is
something that I need to do now.
Yeah, I feel like I need to do this. I don't know. So if somebody watches it and feel like you want to do something, and it's like every time I do it, I feel like something from the inside tells me like, "Thank you, you listen to me."
And I have a thought that, like, moving in these ways, it's considered weird.
Right. It's
okay.
It's uncivil.
But you know what else is considered weird? Being against genocide.
Right.
That's weird in our society.
Right.
Being against the Holocaust of non-human animals. That's also weird.
Right.
Calling
murder.
Yes, telling the truth is weird. Being deep is weird. A lot of things are considered weird in our society, and I think it's a good idea to look more and more and more at what is considered weird and to ask ourselves, why is it considered weird? What is this? What is this weird? Is it a construct that was created in order to limit our freedom and to make us disconnected from ourselves and from the world? I think in many senses, maybe in all senses, it is. Maybe this term weird is some sort of policing that society imposes on each and every one of us. And maybe it's a good idea to be weird. Maybe I think it's definitely a good idea to not be afraid of being weird, okay? Of doing weird things.
Yeah.
Okay? Don't be afraid of being weird, please. I think if we want to bring the revolution, we have to be weird. We have to do things that are considered weird. If we only do things that are not considered weird, nothing will ever change, because weird is some kind of this term of weird, this construct of weird is walls that are put all around us all the time, invisible walls, but real walls nonetheless, very real, because they determine our actions all the time. And if you look at these walls that are weirdness, then you will see that you are very limited in your actions, and that this is a form of policing you and of making you not resist.
Yeah, and I think like, it's like many things actually doing what you want to do. So many times it will makes you cross this.
Yes.
And it's funny how
the wall of weirdness.
The wall of weirdness, yeah.
Yes.
And when I started more, I feel like there's a lot of like my art sometimes cross to the place of weirdness. And for me, like for example, when I started I have here my instrument. I can just go for it, show a bit example what I did.
Yes, but I will also just say that one of the things that I like about the New Age community, the hippie community, when I was part of it,
They
is
allow
that
themselves.
yes, they allowed themselves to be weird. This is something that was very charming to me. But then I found out that they only allow you to be weird in very specific ways that correspond with their own sets of norms. So that was very disappointing. I think we should all be weird in the way that we want to be weird.
Yeah.
Do the thing.
Like what I wanted to show, I'm not going to really play like a bit like, but you have the ways you're supposed to play a viola.
Yes, with a bow.
And I had such a strong pain, and when I started like dealing with it, I started doing weird stuff to reconnect to how you do it, and it was going against all the technique. I was playing like when you start learning, they tell you have to hold it like this. So I was playing like this, and they told me you never hold like this, and like I can play like this. It sounds fine, right?
Yes,
like,
you could.
So I can, and then but I was also hugging the instrument. Like I found many ways that I want to play, and I had to cross to do really weird stuff. And every time I did it, it's like my body said, like, thank you. It's like a child that been abandoned for years and just been told, like, you have to sit, you have to do things like this. Suddenly someone asking, hey, what do you want to do? Because what you want to do is not wrong unless you're hurting somebody. But society keeps telling you for so many things that they are wrong, even if you're not hurting anyone.
Yes. Yes, and they don't really bother explaining what's wrong about these things. Yeah, the society supports a lot of things that are actually wrong, like violence, like murder, like genocide, like Holocaust, like oppression, like hierarchies, like all kinds of things. Society supports it all the time without explaining, or with like feeble explanations, and they say that other things are wrong without any explanations or with feeble explanations. So please think for yourself: is this wrong? Is this right? Does it feel wrong? Does it feel right?
Yeah, maybe you have some inner authority that tells you what is right and what is wrong.
And maybe it's not inner. Maybe it's in this place that is the inside that's connected with the outside.
You want to go to the article?
Yes, I was thinking this. I hope the audience here live and also in the recording did some exercises with us, and
if you take something from it, ask your body what it wants to do. A few times a day, you will see it makes a lot of difference.
Yes, and it's very revolutionary. It's an act of resistance to ask yourself, to ask your mind, to ask your body, to ask your emotions, to ask your spirit, to ask your own individuality. What is your real desire? What really you want to do? I think it's an act of resistance because society uses the systems of oppression, use these mechanisms of telling us what we need to do, what is okay to do, what is not okay to do, what is weird, what is acceptable. They use it to oppress us. They use it to keep us in line. And it's an act of resistance to really connect with yourself and your real desires, which are never violent. Never. Because this is like the point where the self meets the outside. So you would not want to hurt anyone. You would just want everything to be good.
And I think there's a way to people think that the moment they ask themselves their body what they want to do, it means that they will hurt other people or they will do. So first of all, it could be when you start practicing it, it could be subtle, You can start with doing this, but the more you do it, the more you allow yourself, but it's expanding. I found myself, but you don't have to right away go for the most crazy things you want to do. Like maybe you just want to massage your face. I don't know, whatever.
Yes, even doing this is considered weird in most situations.
Yeah.
Just do this. Just do this.
I a lot of time want to do faces, but this is really
Yeah,
weird.
like
I don't. Yeah.
it's considered weird. You shouldn't do it. But I feel like something in it like stretches. Like, okay, there's my brain, okay,
Yeah.
and my brain is connected to a lot of nerves, okay,
Yeah.
and the nerves are inside my face, inside my body, and when I do, when I do this, it feels good. It feels like it's opening up like this area of my brain that's like, you know, clogged, and I can do this, and it opens something up.
Yeah. And it's also something that it's like you never asked your face muscles to what do you want to do, right?
Yes,
It's
yes,
like it's
yes.
Nice.
So, just so you know, Elik gives music lessons that are somewhat radical, and I hope they will become more and more radical as Elik evolves as a music teacher.
Yeah.
And Elik also does not have a lot of money.
Yeah.
So if you...
It's hard to find students when your Instagram is filled with Palestinian flags and
yes,
and
yes,
the messages that
in
you
Zionist
want to
society,
break down
yes.
the Zionist regime. It's not makes you very popular.
Yes, but if you are a person who wants to study music and wants to do it in a radical way, in a way that is attentive to your own body, to your environment, then you can send Elik a message on Instagram at Elik _ Harpaz. I'm writing it in the chat now. And maybe he can give you lessons on WhatsApp or online classes. Yes, exactly, online classes. Fair prices. Talk to him.
Yeah, maybe it could be barter for something also instead of money. We will find.
Yes, but also Elik needs money because he needs food, and the only way to get food in this world is by using money.
Thank you, Alon, for
the only way that
promoting
I know at this point. Okay, so this is just a little bit of promotion that is, I think, necessary also.
Yeah.
And now let's go to the main event. Now that we opened up our minds and bodies a little bit with like exercises, and maybe we will do more of this. I feel like this is
It's good,
a
right?
direction that we need to
Yeah.
explore more, how
It's
to
nice
bring
Yeah.
these things.
It's nice that you connected to the revolutionary aspect of it.
I believe it's intimately connected with the revolution. We cannot do a revolution using only like intellectual,
Right.
like the usual intellectual paths. They will not bring to a revolution. We must be creative, and revolution must be all-encompassing. It must be something that works on all the different levels of existence.
Also, to speak out for Palestine in here, it demands courage, and courage, I believe, comes from the body as well. When you feel energy in your body and you feel like you have more.
Yes.
It's not just from the mind. So
yes. So we maybe this is the start of something. Okay.
yeah.
So now we want to read this article and talk about it. This article is called "Are We Struggling for Justice?" by Simone Weil. We checked the pronunciation of her name in French, Simone Weil. I will put a link to this article here. Here is a link to a PDF version of this article that we found online. I think it's just free. You can just go and read it. And so Simone Weil was a French philosopher, political activist, very interesting and unique person. We read a little bit about her on Wikipedia now. She did all kinds of cool stuff, like participating in the so she lived in the first half of the 20th century, She died when she was 34 years old, I think. 34 years old.
My age.
Yes. But until her death, she did a lot of interesting things, like joining the Revolutionary Army in Spain, the anarchist side. And she worked in factories to understand how to see things from the point of view of the working class, even though her parents were like petit bourgeois, and they were middle class, the thing called middle class. I actually first heard about her brother way before I heard about her. Her brother André Weil was a very, very accomplished and famous mathematician. There are famous conjectures named after him, the Weil conjectures, which are like thousands of mathematicians are working on this as we speak. Okay, so around the world. So he was a very influential mathematician. He went the bourgeois route, okay, and she went in the activist and revolutionary route. But they were very close all the time, as it says on Wikipedia. And now I moved from being a mathematician and caring about the Weil conjectures to being a political activist and caring about this. So please join us when we read this article, and I believe it will lead to very fruitful discussion. And again, this is something new that we are trying to keep things fresh and interesting, and to I think checking all the things and seeing what works best is also part of this revolution, to try more and more and more.
Yeah, and I feel that I have direction in my thought about how I want the world to be, but it's not that I have answers yet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like I know, and I feel like reading is. It's not that I think that now we're gonna get all the answers from Simone Weil, but we're gonna get some direction of thought that can help us.
Yes. So the reason that we're reading this is not because we think Simone Weil is smarter than us or you. Okay.
Yeah.
She's just someone who thought deeply about things and created texts which we found value in when we read them. And it doesn't mean that we have to agree with everything that she says. You will see that we don't agree with some of the things that she says, and we also disagree between us. And it's okay to have disagreement, but it's important to have the discussion. It's important to always have the discussion and to always be exposed to new ideas and to new directions of thought. And we think that this article is one of these. Okay.
And I think with the concept of justice and what is justice is something we think about and talk about a lot. So, and of course, it's a huge question here in the context of Palestine, and in many other questions as well. Like, what is justice? What is just solution?
Mm-hmm.
For here, and why do we think we want justice? Many people here in the Israeli society tell me we want peace, we don't want justice. Like,
Yes.
It's something that I get from liberal Zionists all the time. Sometimes they're well-meaning, but they feel justice is somewhat threatening to them.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that justice is we don't know what it is completely yet, but I feel it's something that for sure I'm striving to, and I don't think there can be peace without justice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Not true peace.
True.
Only the peace of the oppressor. That we will touch on these points. Yeah. So maybe we should start reading the article, and so I will read a few sentences. You will read a few sentences, and we will always stop and discuss. Okay?
Yeah. I read it before, but I didn't understand everything.
Yeah.
And along with
I read it for the first time. I think it was around a year ago, and it really influenced me. And I mentioned it a couple of times in our podcast, I think, or at least I said some things that were inspired by this article.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't claim to understand completely what she meant by everything. We will discuss also. We will try to understand what she meant with several things. She was a very educated woman, that's for sure. So okay, let's read. if we get to the, even to the middle of this article, it will be an accomplishment, okay? Because we will probably have a lot to say. Okay, and we will read comments. You can write comments, and we will read some of them later. Okay, so the first sentence is a quote. The examination of what is just is carried out only when there is equal necessity on each side. Where there is one who is strong and one who is weak, the possible is done by the first and accepted by the second. So this is a quote by Thucydides.
Thucydides, a Greek historian.
Okay, I did not know who this guy was.
He's considered to be one of the first historians who really wrote.
Let's try to look on Wikipedia who is Thucydides. Historian in general, an Athenian historian in general. His history of the Peloponnesian War recounts the 5th century BC war between Sparta and Athens until the year 411 BC. Okay, so what do we think about this quote? I will read the quote again. The examination of what is just is carried out only when there is equal necessity on each side. Where there is one who is strong and one who is weak, the possible is done by the first and accepted by the second. What are your thoughts, Elik?
So actually what it's saying is when there is, as I understand me, correct me if I'm wrong, when there's imbalance of power, you can never have justice, right? Or something like that, or
that's the way I understand it as well. Like, I think that this quote, in some sense, it's no coincidence that she put this quote in the beginning of the article. I think it kind of sums up the main point of the article, which we will revolve around all the time.
Mm-hmm.
That when there is an imbalance of power, when there is inequality, when someone has more power than someone else, then there's no place for justice. Equality or balance of power is a necessary condition for justice. She doesn't say what justice is yet. We are not sure that she will ever define justice completely, but she gives a necessary condition for justice, and a necessary condition for justice is a balance of power. Why? Because the moment that there is an imbalance of power, the one who has the power will just do whatever they want, and the one without power will just have to accept it. And this is not justice. She might not tell us what justice is, but she definitely tells us what justice is not. Okay.
This is always takes me to this interview with Ghassan Kanafani.
Okay.
I don't know if people know it. He was like
I will find the link and put it here. So tell about this.
He was, I think, the founder of the PFLP, or one of the founders. It was the Marxist liberation organization of the Palestinian, and Israel assassinated him. He just never picked up a gun. He was a writer, and just shows you how, if you're strong in like.
Yeah, this is the interview with this British journalist, and it's a very interesting encounter. We saw this together in this interview as well, and
it really inspired me. Just a few minutes, but he's so powerful. And like the interviewer asked him, "Why don't you engage in talks with the Israelis?" And he says, "What kind of negotiations? You mean a conversation between the sword and the neck?"
Yes.
And it's became a very famous, quote that he says. And I feel like you can, when there's a negotiations between and when you understand it, you understand, for example, the Oslo Accords, and you understand so many things that happened that looks like, kind of peace talks,
Mm-hmm.
but actually it was the way of the powerful party to impose subjugation on the weak. And that's why you cannot talk about situations like this and other situation when there is oppression and to talk let's just negotiate it, because
Mm-hmm.
and then it rises the question, what can you do? Like, so it means that fighting is the only solution? Maybe, I don't know.
Let's continue
we will
talking about these questions when we continue with the article. But I
Yeah.
think the main point here is to expose, and the first quote in this article exposes how the moment that there is an imbalance of power, true discussion, true negotiations cannot happen. Just the one with the power will do what they want, and the one without the power will have to agree. That's it. So anytime you see a supposed negotiation between powerful, those with power and those without power, you can immediately know that this is a charade. Okay, let's continue. Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe you can continue reading.
So speak Thucydides the Athenian, who have come to bring an ultimatum to the wretched little city of Melos. Okay, so it's exactly a situation like we talk. They were stronger. They imposed a surrender agreement on the small cities. I think that's what she explains, right? And it was like, and they the strong always have interest to show that the defeat of the weak is kind of an agreement, you know.
Yes,
like
we were
if-
talking about this,
Yeah.
about how the American colonialists wanted to always sign agreements with the native
Yeah.
population, with the Native American population. I don't know what the correct term is. With the native population in Turtle Island, in the place now called America, they always wanted to pretend as if everything was agreed upon. They found someone who will sign a document
Yeah.
that everything is on the up and up. And Zionists work in similar ways, right?
Yeah. Yeah, they found the PA, that it's like actually an organization that works for Israel.
Yes.
But then you have the kind of charade of like, look, we have two parties, and they represent the Palestinians and they agree to what we're doing, you know.
Yes,
And
yes. And we were discussing, why is it so important for the ones who have the power to play this game of
Yeah.
they actually agreed. And we have several thoughts, and one of the thoughts that we had is that power always wants to be transparent, or I don't know if always, but it's in the interest of power, especially in a liberal society, to be transparent, because if we understand that there is if we don't see the imbalance of power, we can speak about agreements and negotiations and all kinds of things, and laws, and you have to follow the law, and norms and morality and blah 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 blah. We can have this discussion, this fake intellectual discussion, that is actually hiding the simple fact that there is someone in power, someone not in power, and the one in power decides what to do. Okay. But the moment that you acknowledge this imbalance of power, the moment that you acknowledge the true situation, and the true situation is that there is the powerful and the not powerful, and the powerful just decides, is a dictator, then the discussion has to be different, because suddenly resistance is a possibility, is a moral possibility, and even a moral, imperative to resistance, because we believe in equality. We believe, like, even the ones who have the power always say, yes, we believe in equality. We want equality. We want equality, right? Because equality is some kind of thing that is considered good, right? So they say that they want equality, but this is what we were talking about, the Zionist left, right? They say we want equality, but they don't really want equality. They want to preserve their position of power.
Yeah, and also, like, if we think about the two-state solution, for example, it sounds equal, right? You have two movements, two people, each one get their own state, but they never. But the thing is that Zionists will never allow a real Palestinian state with an army, with independent economy. It will never happen, and they never agreed to it. Because think about it, if, like, for example, the Zionists will allow true two-state solution, that the Palestinians can have airport, they can have, it will be, it's a disaster from point of view of the Zionists. They will never allow it. It's
not to mention, maybe if we need, let's say I support the two-state solution. I don't, okay? But let's say I support the two-state solution. Okay, so there are 7 million Palestinians and 7 million Jews. So the area should be divided in an equal way, right? Let's say I go with the Zionist left, okay? So it should be equal territory, right? Equal territory, and not just the geographically, like the area. Also equal amount of water, equal amount of like fertile land, equal amount of everything. Okay, let's divide it equally between. They say the two peoples cannot live together in peace. It's a recipe for bloodshed, like a Lonely Green that we like very much said. Okay, it's a recipe for bloodshed. Okay. Let's say the two peoples should be separated. Let's say. Okay, so let's divide this land between the river and the sea equally between the two peoples. You are at the point of segregation. You are where the U.S. was in the 1950s. Okay, you are very advanced. Okay, very advanced. You support segregation. Okay, let's say I support segregation as well. Let's say I go with you. So segregation equally, separate but equal, right? Separate but equal. Okay. So let's divide the land equally. Let's divide the money equally. Let's divide the houses equally. Let's divide the water equally. All of the things, let's divide them equally. Oh, you don't agree. Why?
Yeah. And it's that's the lie of separate and equal, right?
Yes, because separate is never equal.
Separate is never equal.
Okay, continue. Let's continue. Bring me the text. I will continue reading. As you see,
we're not going to read the law.
every single sentence has a lot of. That's why we're doing it. Okay, it's not about the article. It's not a philosophy lesson about this article. It's something that we're doing to encourage ourselves to think about ideas in a better way and deeper way. Okay.
Yeah.
They add so. The Athenians, who said the examination of what is just is carried out not only when there is equal necessity on each side. Okay, they add, regarding the gods, we have the belief. Regarding men, this hold on. Regarding the gods, we have the belief. Regarding men, the certainty that by a necessity of nature, each one always commands wherever he has the power to do so. Okay, so regarding the gods, we believe this because we don't know the gods. But regarding men, we know this because we know men. We know people. And people, they each one always commands wherever he has the power to do so. This is like the fundamental property of humans.
There is no one who have power over another, and he will not abuse it.
Yes. This is why we say that power corrupts. Okay. They thus expressed in two sentences the whole of realpolitik. Okay, if you want to understand realpolitik, just look at it from this angle, and you will understand everything. Everything that is important. Maybe the details are different in each situation, but the heart of it is the same in each situation. Realpolitik is this. Realpolitik is that each person always commands wherever he has the power to do so. Only the Greeks of this period could conceive evil with this marvelous lucidity. So again, Simone Weil she was very well educated. She knew history, she knew philosophy, she knew the classics. Okay, and she, I don't know if this is the most important part of this article, the history part.
But it is interesting to know that it goes so far back.
Yes.
Understanding of people of power and politics that it shows us how long we as humans have to deal with this shit.
Yes, yes, for thousands and maybe tens of thousands of years now.
And it shows us that we didn't progress that much if we're still dealing with
maybe we regressed a lot.
Yeah.
Maybe we regressed. Maybe we are continuing to regress. And maybe what we are trying to do, maybe the revolution is the attempt to reverse this process, this ongoing process of regression and of, going deeply and deeply, more and more deep into the hole.
Maybe.
Okay, so only the Greeks of this period could conceive evil with this marvelous lucidity. They no longer loved the good, but their fathers, who had loved it, had handed down its light to them. They made use of it to recognize the truth of evil. Men had not yet immersed themselves in lies. That is why it was not the Athenians, but the Romans who founded an empire. So maybe what she's saying here is that it was a long process of lying to ourselves more and more and more, and hiding this simple truth that inequality does not allow true justice, and to kind of lie to ourselves that justice is possible with imbalance of power and inequality. It took a lot of lies to get to where we are today. Okay, and they were still still in the position that they could recognize that this is what was happening. They didn't care that they were like, yeah, we're more powerful, and therefore we impose our will on others, and that's it. And that's just what it is. And you know what? When I speak to fascists of all kinds, I tend to appreciate when they are honest in this way. It's very rare. It's very rare that fascists are honest and they just say, yes, I'm more powerful in this situation, and therefore I impose my will on others against their wishes.
Yeah,
I don't care. This is a good situation to be in. This is why we say
fascism is always a bit more honest than liberalism, right?
I think liberalism is just a kind of fascism which is less honest,
more covert.
Yes, this is what I think. This is what I think. It's fascism with more steps that allow it to be less, honest about what they're doing. So this is, I think, when fascists tell me I'm a fascist, I just impose, I have more power, and I impose my will on others who do not have the power to refuse. I think it's a step forward, okay? Because at least we are acknowledging reality. At least we are acknowledging what is going on, what is actually going on, and this is why I think liberals are the most dangerous in this situation.
It's interesting thought. I never know who is more dangerous to me.
The truth,
because with liberals, I feel that some of them are like I was a liberal Zionist for most of my life, and I think part of me was still honest about wanting to have equality, to have real democracy, but I kind of held on to something until I was shown by other people that if I want to be consistent with my morality, I cannot hold on. So.
But you actually cared about being consistent with your morality, and I think most liberals don't really care about that.
But at least I had some morality, because if you're a fascist, you say I don't care about it anyway.
I think you have a different morality when you're like it's a different kind of morality. We'll talk about this more when we progress. I think the questions will rise more. So you want? So she says this is why it was not the Athenians but the Romans who founded an empire. She's saying when you found an empire, it has to be founded on lies, because you have to have this facade of justice, of bringing something good.
Look at
like the USA.
We are the leaders of civilization.
Yeah, we bring freedom to wherever we come to a place, we kill everybody, and we bring them freedom. Freedom from life, basically. Freedom from, freedom from material possessions, like the Buddhists, okay? Yeah. So you have freedom from material possessions. We demolish your house, we burn your fertile land, we kill everyone, and then you are free from all material possessions. This is the way that we bring you freedom.
Yeah, we supported genocide for more than a year, and we are the leaders of civilization.
Yes. You want to continue to the next sentence? We're still in the first page, but I think it's
Yeah,
very
let's
good
see how
progress.
far we go.
Yes, yes.
To me, like philosophy, it's good also to go deep and to understand. But if it helps me think, even if I didn't understand it correctly,
Yes. Even if it's something that I completely disagree with,
Yeah.
if it helped me phrase why I disagree with it, I think
Yeah.
it's also good.
But so far, I like it.
Yes, I like it.
Okay. Those two sentences are the
No, I think we're.
No.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Those two sentences are the sort that shock kindly souls. But to the extent to which a man has not experienced their truth in his flesh, his blood, and his entire soul, he cannot yet have access to the real love of justice. Wow.
Yeah.
I feel it's a very meaningful thing, but I didn't
Yes.
get to the heart of it yet. Do you want to say what you think? Should I read it again?
Yeah, read it again. I have a lot of this is one of the sentences that really, like, when I read this sentence, I was like, okay, I need to read this article.
Yeah, I feel I have many directions. Maybe we can see. I see if I also it's your direction.
Yeah.
Okay, those two sentences. Which one is about the inequality? Right, the first.
The necessity of equality for justice, for the
necessity.
existence of justice.
Yeah, and the other one is about the one who have the power to command will command. The
Yes.
one who have power will enforce.
It's just a
the
fact
power.
of nature.
Yeah, these two sentences are the sort that shock kindly souls. Yeah, because the kindly souls want to believe that everything is great and we live in a world that is just, right, and the government don't abuse the power and all of that.
Yeah, I think she's using kindly souls in a way that is slightly sarcastic, slightly ironic. Yeah. But we will get into this.
But to the extent to which a man has not experienced the truth in his flesh, his blood, and his entire soul, he cannot yet have access to the real love of justice.
I think this also kind of
about the victims, right?
Yes. It encapsulates the difference. Like, let's continue with the example of Zionists and Palestinians. Okay. And we talk. There is a lot of discussion about privilege. Okay. And there's a lot of discussion about privilege that is counterproductive, in my opinion. But there's a lot of discussion about privilege that is productive, in my opinion. And this is the kind of discussion that is productive, because she is saying now, those who did not experience injustice, who did not experience being in this position where someone just tells you what to do and you have to accept this because you are in a position of less power, they do not appreciate what justice means. They haven't experienced it in their flesh. Okay, so they do not understand it. Okay, and I think this is the difference between well-intentioned Jewish Israelis who are, leftist Zionists, and well-intentioned Palestinians who actually aspire to justice. And this is why we say, I think that Zionists are in some kind of trap of the mind.
Yeah.
Because they cannot see reality for what it is. They cannot understand what it means to be the victim of injustice. And I think that the moment you experience what it means to be the victim of injustice, then something in you changes and you see reality. You see reality more clearly. And I think one of the reasons that you and I are different from other Jewish Israelis who are Zionists is that I don't know if we actually experienced injustice or we just allowed ourselves to actually do this exercise of putting ourselves in the positions of the victims of injustice.
Yeah.
And I think that it changes you fundamentally when you experience this.
Yeah, but for the person who born not to the side that experienced the injustice, it takes a lot of effort.
Yes.
It takes a lot of learning and unlearning. And I think it takes some like you have to go through a spiritual, I feel it's a spiritual process of letting down the ego in many ways. Because you do it, I feel I do it, and then I have this white guilt shit that you need to let go of too, and understand that it's not about me, that I was just born into a situation that put me somewhere, and you need to see how it looks from the point of view of the other. Yeah, it's an interesting process, but I feel it. I saw interview with Miko Peled that they asked him, what are the consequences that you pay from taking the Palestinian side? And he said, I must say that overall, this process is more enriching than its price I pay. And I agree with it. We do pay a price.
We pay a material price. We
Yeah.
pay like a price on the level of how much we are connected to our society, to our families, to our supposed friends, how much we have a possibility to make a living, and so forth and so on. How sad we are. How sad we are and depressed.
But in the overall, you gain more than you lose.
Yes.
And I think, what did she say? A man, I like it that she said, to extent which a man has not experienced their truth in his flesh. Because you can understand from it that she talks about the victims of injustice, but this can also imply someone who learned about it and didn't experience but did the work. It could be like us or any person people who got now connected to the Palestinian source story. And I think many people now watched what happened in Gaza and learned, and they got to a level where it's almost like,
it's a secondary experience, but still they understand something. They understand something. Yes,
they understand something, and they have this access, what she says, access to real love of justice. Because I don't think that love of justice is only available to the people who are victims of injustice.
Yes, of course.
Because
if it were so, there would be no hope.
Right. So I think,
and she talks about it more later. But I do want to say, like, a lot of people ask me, what made you different from other members of your society? Why are you why do you find yourself in the side that is pro-Palestine and against Zionism and against?
How did you become a traitor?
Yes, yeah, that's a succinct way of saying it. How did I become a traitor? And I think I'm going to be a little bit vulnerable now. When I was growing up, I was a reject from society. I suffered, I don't know if physical abuse, but emotional abuse, a lot of mockery, a lot of ostracization. Because I was different, because I was weird, because I was, let's say, I think maybe on the spectrum, because I was, a geek, because I was a nerd, because I was not, I did not find myself fitting in to the traditional molds of masculinity, and so forth and so on. And this made me very much rejected by, I hated going to school. I was never invited to social events. I didn't have a lot of friends, and the friends that I did have were only other social rejects. And I think that this kind of made me understand what it was like to be outside of what is deemed acceptable by society, and it made the rewards, the material rewards of being accepted into society, something that was not as available to me as it was to other people. And I think that this made me realize, like, experience this on my own flesh. No, it wasn't even close to being as severe as being stopped at the checkpoint and being abused by an Israeli soldier. But I think it was the same kind of experience on a qualitative level. I think it was the same kind of experience. And this, when I grew up, allowed me to connect more with those who experience this on much more severe level, like Palestinians under Zionist fascism, like non-human animals under human fascism, and so forth.
But some people experience what you experienced as child, and it made them opposite. Like we talked about Elon Musk, that it feels like that he's also kind of a reject, but it made him a fascist, because you want to take revenge on all the people who, I don't know. Like,
so
I'm not saying it necessitates like
Yes.
being a reject as a child.
I think it gave me a possibility to understand it.
Yeah.
I still had to choose it. I still had, maybe there's something else that's different about me, but I think that's one of the things that that allowed me to go down this path, which you can decide for yourself if it's a good path or not a good path. And I'm still deliberating with myself. Okay.
Yeah.
But I think this is part of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for exposing yourself like this.
I feel like this is also part of, like we talk about the revolution, okay? I think that being vulnerable, that all of us being more vulnerable, you cannot be honest without being vulnerable. And I think that honesty is a critical ingredient for changing the world, because this world, the system that we are in is based on lies, is based on deception, is based on manipulation. So honesty is a very good antidote to all of this. And honesty requires vulnerability. So I encourage more and more people to be more and more vulnerable in everything that they do. And this allows you to be more honest, and this allows you to resist more efficiently.
Yeah.
Maybe I will bring us a drink, and you will answer some comments, and then we will continue, okay?
Okay. I don't know, where do you start? There's so many.
So many, yeah.
Where should I start from?
Pick one at random and start from that.
So interesting. Elika. Elika is my yoga teacher. Elika, my yoga teacher, we should always be creative and authentic, practice teaching and life, and never afraid to follow our instincts and this real wisdom. Nice, I agree. I first became weird at age 11 when I developed a political conscience. I still support the Palestinians' continued struggle for equal rights of future protection and security. Like, it's connected, I think, to what we did before.
Yes.
About the weirdness. I wonder if a lot of people on the Palestinian side also felt a bit connected to the weird. Maybe you do it. It's hard for me to follow up.
Okay. It's difficult. I must say to our audience, it's difficult to both, create this content and follow the comments and everything. It's just it's just taxing on the mind. So we apologize. It's okay. So Elik will use the bathroom, and I will try to read the few comments and answer.
Sure.
Let's see. That's why ecosystems, quote, ecosystems are sustainable. They have a balance of power and they are inherently cooperative. That's interesting. I never thought about it this way, but I think that there is a distinction that a lot of times is being made between, nature and not nature. And the things that humans created are considered not nature. And I have many thoughts about this. And one thought that I have about this is that everything is nature. This couch is part of nature. This, shirt is part of nature. My hair is part of nature. My glasses are part of nature. You know why? Because everything is nature and everything is connected and everything is part of the same system. But still, there is some kind of distinction that we see between things that are more artificial and things that are more natural. I don't know. And maybe this distinction, maybe this comment is something that exposes this, that the distinction is more between things that are out of balance and things that are in balance. Okay? And when we speak about nature, it's much more in balance than what we created. What we created is very much unbalanced. What humanity created is a huge global system that I think is very, very unbalanced, unequal. And if you want to imagine the most unequal situation in the world, I think the situation where there is a person going to the supermarket to buy the corpses of animals that were brought up, like that were bred especially for the consumption, for their consumption, and spent their entire lives in cages, being abused and exploited, just so that in the end of their miserable lives, their corpses could be dismembered, uh, burnt, and then eaten by someone to experience a few minutes of superficial, superficial enjoyment. I cannot imagine anything that is more unequal than that. That is more out of balance than that. So maybe this is the kind of distinction that we need to make: systems that are in balance and systems that are out of balance. Okay, let's continue with the article. There's a lot of comments. Thank you for everyone for commenting, and we apologize for not being able to answer everything, but we will answer.
We leave the comments after, right?
Yes. So
other people can read it.
I clicked on when we started this live. I clicked on the option of keeping the comments for people who watch this after. I hope it works. Some people told me that it didn't work, but I hope it works now. One comment: I hate money.
Yes.
Yes, we will talk about this, I think, as well.
She talks about it in the end. I don't know.
Yes.
Where I guess we're not going to reach to the end of the article.
No, we won't reach the end, but we will reach somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay. The Greeks defined justice admirably as mutual consent. I think that's very interesting because we started from saying that a situation of imbalance of power is a situation where justice cannot be.
Yeah.
And here she says, let's define justice. She says the Greek defined justice. She doesn't take responsibility for this definition. I don't know. It's a kind of trick. But she says the Greeks defined justice admirably as mutual consent. So she says the Greeks defined it like that. I'm not saying that I define it like that. Okay. But she also says admirably. She likes it. Okay. As mutual consent. So what is justice? According to this definition, justice is when everything happens in full agreement. If something happens, then everyone affected by the thing that happened agreed to this happening. That's interesting. That's interesting. This is justice. It's interesting to define justice like this, right?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about this, Elik?
It makes me think like it's interesting, and it makes me think first. Okay, so it's about relationships between beings,
agents,
let's
say, yeah,
and it has to do with freedom. I feel because like if there is no, in order to have consent, you need to have freedom.
Yes, if you cannot refuse, if you cannot plausibly refuse, then what is even the meaning of consent, right?
Yeah.
When you have no possibility of refusing something, then there is no meaning to consenting to it.
The anarchist in me straight away thinks about statism, that it's the opposite, because the definition of state is that it has the license to impose,
Yes.
right? Without
Yes.
it, you don't have, like, it's the monopoly of violence. Like,
Yes.
if a state cannot write laws and impose them with violence, you don't have.
Yes. And I think it was who came up with the social contract theory. I think it was John Rawls, right?
Rawls or Locke, I don't remember.
Whatever, the social, it doesn't matter who. It matters the
I
idea.
think it had many different versions. I think Rousseau talked about it, but I don't know.
Let's look up social contract so that we don't speak nonsense.
We're not completely educated. We're only,
Yes, we're anarchically educated.
Anarchically educated, yeah.
Jean-Jacques Rousseau. Jean-Jacques Rousseau was the first who seriously suggested this. And when I heard about the social contract, I was like, I don't remember signing any contract. No one asked me about whether a contract should exist. Do I agree to the contract? They never even said what the terms of the contract were. The terms of the contract seem very contrived, very weird. Maybe let's say that the terms of the contract are the laws of the state that you were born in. So I don't know, just because I was born in a certain geographical area that happened to be controlled by a certain specific institutionalized mafia.
Yeah, and
I automatically
give
agree.
You a number, and you have a number that they give you, and they're kind of. It's funny that we never. It's so take it for granted.
Yes.
Like statism that we don't even think. Why am I given a number by my state? Who gave them the right to sign me up to their organization that I never agreed to be a part of? Yes. And so this social contract always sounded very, very weird to me. It sounded like someone who has power or who supports the powers that be trying to excuse the use of their powers without getting consent by lying that they did get consent when such consent was never gotten, never asked for. It's simply ridiculous, this social contract theory. And I think, yes, if we actually did a social contract and actually asked everyone if they agree to the contract and actually tried to form this, then maybe this would be a good idea. But just presenting reality as if there is a social contract and consent is being accepted or even asked for is ridiculous, in my opinion. It's just, you have to be very, very detached from reality, from actual reality. You have to be one of those people who never experienced injustice in their own flesh to pretend as if such a thing exists. But then, if you think about it like this, all of us experienced injustice on our flesh, because all of us never been. We are all subjects. Yeah, we're all subjects to the state, and it also takes me to the like, we're all part of a monetary system that, like, we have to have money in order to survive. We're so many things. We're part of things that we never consented to, but we have to be part of. But it takes me to the place of, like, but nature also doesn't ask our consent. Like, we have to eat to survive, and we have to. Okay. And so what is consent? And, like, this is where these discussions starts to be a bit complicated to me. I don't know. On what things do I blame society, and on what do I blame the fact that I'm a biological being who my freedom is restricted by the laws of physics and biology and whatever. So my thought about this is that, yes, there are things that are physical impossibilities, and some restrictions that we have are restrictions that are necessary. Okay, but some of them are not. Some of them are not. They're not rules of nature. And when someone tries to present to you, like, okay, we were talking before about Zionists who want to present the structure, the separation between different tribes as natural. Okay,
but it's not natural. It's
No.
it's constructed. It's manufactured. Okay, so I think yes, some things are a necessity of nature, and we can like acknowledge that these things exist, and just okay. But I don't want to believe lies or to lie myself about certain things that are not necessities of nature being necessities of nature. We have to differentiate between those things that are necessary and those things that are not necessarily necessary. Someone asked, what is the difference between acceptance and consent? And I think that's a very good question in this context, because acceptance is just, when there is a power imbalance and those in power say this is the way that things are going to happen, those without power have to accept it. This is acceptance. Like they can shout, they can resist in all kinds of ways, but in the end they will have to accept it. But it does not mean that they consented to it. Consent is something that I think. So first of all, consent can only exist when there is a possibility to refuse. When you actually have the possibility to refuse, then your consent can mean something. But if you don't have the possibility to refuse, then your consent is meaningless. It's just acceptance. It's not really consent. And maybe that's the main part of it. The possibility, the theoretical possibility to refuse, to say no, and that this no will be taken seriously. Okay, and this no will be taken seriously only when there is no imbalance of power.
Yeah. Also, what the sentence you said made me think like um, consent has many levels. Like now we are interacting with each other and we're interacting with the people here, and we're all here by consent, right? And we're
Yes.
creating something. And I feel like if life is about something, what part of what gives it meaning, it's this kind of interactions, right?
Yes.
Where all the members, like creation always happen with mutual consent, and
Yes.
love when you
Yes.
have to, like everything that is meaningful create by when people cooperate and create.
And this brings me back to like school. Okay,
Mm,
like what it's like you're considered a bad kid when you don't like to go to school. But like, did they ever ask me if I
yeah,
wanted to go to school? They just told me you have to go to school.
yeah,
Okay, and then the atmosphere in the school is always, it's no surprise that this is something that everyone hates.
yeah,
It's no surprise that people hate school. It's no surprise that people hate their jobs. It's no surprise that people hate, I don't know, social events that they have to go to. If you are forced to do something, you cannot just logically, it's impossible to consent to something that you are forced to do. And if there is no consent, there can be no love, there can be no freedom, there can be
yeah.
no creation.
And I think a good sign to ask yourself if you're in a toxic relationship, if you're feeling guilty for not doing something that you never agreed or signed up to do,
Mm.
right? Like people tell kids, you're a bad kid, you didn't go to school, but he never agreed and said he want to go.
Yes.
Or
Yes.
some people, doing manipulation to their partners, that they don't want to do something that they want them to do, but they don't ask, but what if they don't want to do it?
Yes.
And we have to get to a point of harmony, and that's why relationship is always at risk of becoming manipulative. A lot of time we find ourselves manipulative to others. Like it happens all the time. Like
Yes. Yes.
we
Yes.
need to be honest when it happens, because we all do it. I think it's
Yeah,
not
this is why anarchy is so difficult,
Yeah.
because we have to be very aware, we have to be very honest. We can find ourselves on both sides of the equation, on the oppressive side and
Yeah.
on the oppressed side all the time.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering, if she's anarchist, because when she says justice is mutual consent, I always thought actually this is the meaning of anarchy. True. One
I
of
think
the
she's an anarchist. I think
definitions.
this article is about anarchy.
Yeah.
I think it's just like, the more I think about all these different terms like anarchy and democracy and
They're the
love
same.
and justice and freedom and equality, they all seem to be
The same.
like, yeah, different aspects of the same thing, which is like, you know the
what we're striving for.
yes, the thing that has no real name.
Yeah, which is, I think, it's maximum collaboration and individual freedom.
Yes.
And
honesty and truth,
and sharing of resources at the same time.
Yes.
That happens
and
without
respect.
Yeah.
Okay, let's continue.
Yeah.
Okay. Love, says Plato, neither does nor suffers injustice. Okay, so now she's connecting the idea of justice to the idea of love. If you are loving, if you are in a state of love, you will not suffer injustice and you will not do injustice. So also it is implied that if there is an imbalance of power, there can be no love. So, for example, in a patriarchal society where men have the power and women do not have the power, no love can exist between a man and a woman. This is just a logical conclusion of what she's saying now. If you agree that love does not suffer injustice and does never do injustice, and if you agree that justice cannot reside in a situation where there is an imbalance of power, then you must agree, I think, this is a logical conclusion, that traditional marriages in a patriarchal society are completely disconnected from love. It's the opposite of love in some sense.
Yeah, but it also made me think that there are many situations in life that we do have mutual consent, and we need to acknowledge justice where it exists, because it's easy to overlook it, in a way, because you take it for granted that you have a good friend and you meet and you have a good time. This is also justice, because it's two different people from their own will getting together like we're doing now. Nobody imposed this on us.
That's what I told him to tell
you. Help me!
if you need saving, blink 4 times.
But it's funny, it's a joke, but it takes us to that every time the powerful want to put the costume of consent. They always try to show it off as something that's why the Zionists will want to reach some of them to a peace agreement that they sign, because then it makes the subjugation way more strong and it will go on for a longer time.
It's a way to placate the resistance. Like, for example, let's take it to a different situation, to capitalism. Okay, the capitalists will want to tell you, yes, you are free to choose your own work. You are free to work for me, or for them, or for him, or for her, or for yourself, which is also you are free to choose your own slave owner. And then so they present it as if you are free to choose what you do, but in reality you are not free. You are not free. But if you understand that you are not free, then there is a danger that you might want to resist this, because no one likes to be subjugated. So they need to tell you that you are not subjugated. They need to tell you that you are not a slave. They need to tell you that you are free. If they maintain this charade that you are free, then you will not be so quick to resist your enslavement, your subjugation. But if you realize that you are subjugated, if you realize that you are a slave, you might start thinking about resisting. So this is why they want to keep this charade. Should we continue the sentence?
We're already going for an hour and a half, and we read only one page.
Yeah, we read the first page.
I knew it's gonna be like
but
this.
Maybe we can do like a part 2, and the part 3, and the part 4, whatever.
All right.
Love, says Plato, neither does nor suffers injustice, neither amongst the gods nor amongst men. for whatever is done to love, love is capitalized here, capital L, love, it is not done by force, since force cannot lay hands on love.
Love is the opposite of force in a way.
Yes, love is the opposite of force. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Well, maybe it's very hard to define what love is,
Yeah.
but it's easier to define what love is not. And force is not love. Love is not force.
Yeah.
And when he acts, he does not act by force, for all consent to obey love in everything. Where there is agreement by mutual consent, there is justice, say the laws of the royal city. Okay, so this is a quote from Plato from the Symposium, which I must admit that I did not read in my ignorance.
I also didn't read Plato, but I know he was not an anarchist. But
yeah, he was not an anarchist. He really liked the state. He
Yeah.
wanted the state to impose
he wanted the
the
philosopher king, that
yeah. He wanted the tyranny of
smart people.
yes, of rationale,
Yeah.
of rationality. He wanted the tyranny of rationality. And I must say that when I was younger, I was in a similar position. I thought that
appealed to you.
rationality, what?
It appeals to you.
Yes, it appealed to my
Yeah.
rational side. That I thought that rationality was the same as good. I thought that rationality could solve all our problems, and I was convinced otherwise when I grew up.
You don't think this way.
I don't think this way anymore. I can connect with the side of me that romanticized rationality, and I can still acknowledge the advantage of rationality and the necessity of rationality. But I think this side of me that thought that rationality could solve all our problems is not as naive anymore. And one of the reasons that I came to this conclusion was that I saw rational people supporting horrible things with supposedly rational arguments to justify their violence.
I had, a thought when I was young that I think it was the beginning of my anarchist way of thinking, but I didn't go with it. But I remember that when I saw, I remember my father told me about Himmler's speech. And he told Himmler was an interesting character. I think it was Himmler. What was Himmler? He was the head of the SS, I think, or what was his?
Some kind of Nazi.
High-rank Nazi.
Yes.
And he had inside him, I think I heard that he was going to the extermination camps of the Jews and he wanted to throw up. Like something inside him resisted this. He had it. He wasn't a robot, and he had his, emotions of empathy and still exist.
Yes, it is confirmed. Himmler was the head of the SS.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. And he have a famous speech when he told the soldiers who were responsible for the extermination, like, I know it's hard. I know you don't like it, but you need to understand that this is for the greater good. And this is the way that your emotion goes, like you can use the rationality to do immoral things.
Yes.
And a lot of time I think that if we were intact with our emotions, I think for most of the people don't, like, you have psychopaths.
Yeah.
But most of the people,
I'm not sure about that.
What, that most of the people?
No, I'm not sure that there are psychopaths.
You're not sure about it?
Yes, it's a disagreement that I have with my girlfriend. We talk about this a lot. Do psychopaths exist?
Yeah, maybe it's like it's also people who are psychopath. It's people who are
they just
suffer depression or whatever.
Yeah. I think that they went on the wrong path very early. This is what psychopath means. But never mind. Continue. So you're saying that most people will, if they are connected to their emotions, they will do good, right? This is what you were trying to say.
Yeah. I don't know, but it made me feel that rationality is not a tool for morality. A lot of time it's doing the opposite, and you find many people using rational, complicated arguments to justify genocide, to
Yes.
justify. Um, I heard many people, like a friend. I had an argument with Zionist guy that I told him like, look, this picture. I tried to show him this so much horrors, and he was like, okay, so emotionally it's hard for you to see all this death, but you're acting like a child, you know. He like rational men know that you have that war is a necessity, you know, this
Yes.
kind of
Yes.
um
Yes, we have to remember that rationality is a tool, that rational thinking, that logic is a tool.
yeah.
And like every tool, it can be used for good purposes and it can be
Hmm.
used for evil purposes. And, like any tool, if you have a knife, you can use it to make a meal and you can use it to kill.
Yeah.
If you have, I don't know, a gun, I don't see any good use for guns, just abolish guns. But a knife can be used to make a meal, for example. Tools can be used for good and they can be used for evil. And rationality is also a tool and it can be used for good, it can be used for evil. It's funny because the way that I learned it is that I had arguments with highly rational carnists. Okay,
Yeah.
this is I was around 23. Okay, and I was still in this phase that I thought that rationality was the answer to everything. I was doing my master's in math. Okay, at the
Hmm.
university, so I was in this milieu of people who really valued rationality, and I talked to a lot of my mathematician and scientist friends at the time, and I saw them using their rationality to justify a Holocaust, to justify murder. And I saw how they deformed everything, but it was really hard to differentiate between, positive use of rationality and negative use of rationality. And I think it's really hard to use rationality to like from the inside to see whether what you're doing is for the good or for the bad. You need something more. you need
Yeah.
you, you need to use rationality as only one of your tools, and
Yeah.
emotions, like, okay, so let's go to the other side. If you are too emotional, okay,
Hmm.
so if you are only rational, you can justify anything that you want, okay.
Yeah.
But if you are not rational at all and you are only emotional, then also this can be, emotions are another tool that you can use for good and you can use for evil. And we see all the time how the emotions of Zionists and other fascists are being used by those in power to manipulate them to support all kinds of horrible things. Yes, Israelis are really afraid of what will happen to them. They really feel bad about what happened on October 7th.
Yeah.
Their emotions are real, but they are being manipulated into, like, their emotions are being manipulated into making them supporting horrible things. And
Yeah.
maybe they should use their rationality a little bit more. I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe I think like the thing is that you need to acknowledge that the emotion exists, like to say, yeah, I don't know what the right solution for something, but I afraid. You
Mhm,
know,
mhm,
I afraid that if we have a democracy between the river and the sea,
mhm.
I will be unsafe, because and my family and all the people I know. I'm afraid. It doesn't mean it's not the right thing to do, but you need to acknowledge. You know, when I get to this talk with Zionists, and I get them to acknowledge just the emotional part without rational, I feel like we're getting somewhere.
Yeah, yeah.
And like, I don't know.
This is a whole discussion within itself. Let's
Yeah.
continue with the
Yeah.
article. Let's try to read one more paragraph.
Okay.
This makes the opposition of the just and the possible in the words cited by Thucydides very clear. When there is equal strength on both sides, one seeks the conditions for mutual consent.
Hmm.
When someone does not have the capacity to refuse, one is not going to look for a way of obtaining his consent. Thus, only those conditions which correspond to objective necessities are examined. The consent of matter is all that one seeks. I think this connects to what you said about physical possibilities and physical impossibilities. There are, the physical conditions of the world,
Mhm.
and the physical conditions of the world determine the balance or imbalance of power. It determines how much power every agent has in the situation. And what she's saying here is that the moment that there is an imbalance of power, no one will even want to seek consent. Okay, it's not even something that will be, that will be a goal for anyone, right? Because, and we see this. Like, do Zionists care about what Palestinians want or think? They don't. They don't.
But is it that the moment you have a difference in material conditions, there must be like, let's say we can be friends and you have more money in your bank account. It doesn't mean that the moment you can have even way more money than me and we can still be friends and you will not.
Do you
choose
really
it
believe
again.
that? I don't know. I'm
I
not
don't
sure
know.
about that.
I had friendships with you think like there's a level that I don't know. It's a good question, but I don't think like the things that make Zionists abuse Palestinians. It's not just because that there's imbalance, because that there is something that they both want, and the Zionists have way more power to
Yes, but
take
the,
it.
the point is that because the Zionists have more power in the situation, they will not even seek consent. They
Yeah.
don't care about consent. Consent does not matter to them. I think it's interesting to think about what they say, like leftist Zionists, liberal Zionists. They say we are doing this for the Palestinians. Hamas is oppressing look at the argumentation that they use.
Yeah.
Hamas is oppressing the Palestinians, and we are doing this for the Palestinians. We are destroying Hamas so that the Palestinians are free.
Yeah.
We're bringing them freedom bullshit.
Yeah.
Okay, and the point is that they can say this without even talking to a single Palestinian
Yeah.
throughout their entire lives.
And they don't even think that it's a bit weird to say this.
Yes.
Without asking them if they agree. Like, who
Yes.
puts you to talk on the behalf of people you don't even talk to?
And this is the result of this unnatural, I don't know, unbalanced situation where someone has power over someone else.
Yeah.
Okay. So you see that weird things can be the result of this. Let's continue.
Mm-hmm.
You want to read another paragraph? Here.
In other words, human action has no other rule or limit than obstacles. Like, obstacles is what defines our behavior in a way.
Yeah, obstacles is like physical obstacles, physical barriers.
Yeah, like I want something, and the obstacles I have in my way will determine my action. That's what.
Yeah. Continue. I think she speaks about this.
Okay. It has no contact with realities other. It has no contact with realities other than these. Matter imposes obstacles which are determined by its own mechanism.
Mm-hmm. The mechanism of matter is physics. Okay,
Mhm.
we talk about physical obstacles.
A man may impose obstacles through a power to refuse, which he sometimes has and sometimes not.
Mm-hmm.
When he does not have it, he does not constitute an obstacle, nor consequently a limit. In relation to the action and the one who performs it, he has no existence.
Mm-hmm.
I need to think about it again. Did you get it? Or
Yes, I think I understand what she means. Let's look at the last sentence.
Okay.
In relation to the action and to the one who performs it, he has no existence. If you have no power, okay. So what is the power to refuse? The power to refuse is a physical thing. She's speaking about physical reality, and she's saying that the power to refuse is a physical thing. Maybe you cannot see it directly with your eyes, but this does not make it not a physical thing. You cannot see electricity with your eyes, but electricity does exist. Why? Because it is a force in the world that impacts the way that things behave. Okay. And the power to refuse is the same thing. Okay, so let's say that. So the point is that if you do not have the power to refuse, then in the eyes of the one who does have the power, you do not exist. So let's say I have power. Okay, let's say I have power and I want something. Okay, so I go and I get it.
Yeah.
Okay, and let's say you're in the way. Okay, if you do not have power, then what do? I just go and I move you.
Yeah.
And I get the thing.
Yeah.
And
like
I don't.
You want the land and you kick out the people.
Yes. Yes.
They...
If you do not
For
have,
example.
for example, or let's say I want good taste in my mouth, and there's a cow, and I want the flesh of the cow. Okay, so I go and I take the flesh of the cow. If the cow has the power to refuse, then suddenly she exists. But as long as the cow does not have the power to refuse, she does not exist in my eyes.
Okay? But that's the only thing that determines our relations, you think?
So she is saying that the way that the human mind works, maybe all minds work, is that there is a goal. We aspire to the goal. She will continue describing this in the next few paragraphs. Maybe we should just read them, but I would just say that there is a goal. You want to attain the goal, you go and you get the thing.
Yeah.
And as long as something is not an obstacle to attain that goal, it does not exist in your mind. You will not give it a second thought or even a first thought. Okay, let's continue reading. I think it elucidates it. Whenever there is action, thought moves towards its goal. Okay, what is an action? There is a goal, and thought has a goal, and it moves towards this goal. Without obstacles, the goal would be attained as soon as thought of. Okay, so you think, you get a goal, and you just attain the goal. Okay, without obstacles. Sometimes that is how it is. A child sees his mother from afar after an absence, and he is in her arms almost before knowing that he has seen her. Okay, he just runs to his mother, no obstacles. He is in the arms of his mother because he wants to be in the arms of his mother. But when immediate fulfillment is impossible, thought at first focused on the goal is inevitably claimed by the obstacles.
Yeah.
This is just, I think, a very basic description of how the mind works on a very pragmatic level.
Yeah.
Okay, we have goals. We are trying to achieve these goals. If there are no obstacles, we just go and we achieve the goal. If there are obstacles, suddenly we go, okay.
Yeah, and our consciousness shifts from the thing it wants to the obstacle.
Yes, yes.
And the more obstacles you have, like the more,
And also, when is someone an obstacle? Someone is an obstacle when they have the power to refuse. And when they don't have the power to refuse, then they are not an obstacle. And to the mind, they do not exist. Okay?
But let's say I can be very attracted to some woman, but I can. It's not that the way we think is just by power. Like I think I want her, but I respect her, and she doesn't want me. So okay, it's like this way of thinking that we're just determined by the power. Like I feel there is something that reduces humans to just determined by power relations, and I don't think that's how we work. Like like her refusal to me is an obstacle, but I, let's say, might have the physical force to impose myself on her, but I don't want to, And
okay.
It's
so one second. I think this will be addressed later. Because what you want is love.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I think the example of relationships between romantic and sexual relationships is a good example in this situation. Okay. And she speaks about this very explicitly in the next few pages.
Yeah.
She's talking about how okay, let's take it one step back. If all I want is sexual gratification,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm in a patriarchal society where men have all the power and women don't have the power to refuse sexual relations, then what I will do is I will just take what I
Yeah.
want, and that's it.
And we know that this
Sexual
is
gratification.
that's how it works in many societies.
That's how it works in many societies, and that's how it works in many situations in our own society, which is a patriarchal society, and we must admit this and we must acknowledge this. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is one form of living, okay, in a very in a way that objectifies both you and everyone else.
Yeah.
Okay. But what you will get to very soon is that there is another way of living, there is another way of being, and the other way of being is love.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So I think what you are describing is exactly this difference between a situation where everything is objectification, and another situation where things are characterized by love, okay, and actual caring. Okay. So maybe we should continue reading and we will get to this. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if I have the ability to go much longer, but
Okay. Maybe we will finish 2 pages and then we will continue in a few days the second part. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It is claimed by them alone. Okay. So at first, okay. When immediate fulfillment is impossible, thought at first focused on the goal is inevitably claimed by the obstacles.
Yeah, that's what we said before.
It is claimed by them alone. Where there are none, it does not stop. If you have a goal, there are no obstacles.
Yeah.
Nothing stops you from reaching that goal.
Yeah.
Anything not constituting an obstacle to the substance of its action, for example, men without the capacity to refuse. This is, she's saying, for example, as if it's a random example, but this is the main example. For example, men without the capacity to refuse is transparent to it, as is completely clear glass to sight. She's comparing, agents without the capacity to refuse the action to glass.
Yeah.
You can just not see the glass. Okay.
Yeah.
It is not up to it to stop there anymore than it is up to sight to discern glass. Okay. If you use your sight to look at things and there is a glass, then the glass can be very completely transparent, and then it's not an obstacle for your sight. So your sight will not acknowledge the existence of the glass at all.
Yeah.
Someone who does not see a pane of glass does not know that he does not see it. Someone who, being placed differently, does see it does not know that the other does not see it. Interesting. This analogy.
Yeah. So, well, okay.
When our will finds expression outside ourselves in actions performed by others, we do not waste our time and our power of attention in examining whether they have consented to this. This is true for all of us. Our attention, given entirely to the success of the undertaking, is not claimed by them as long as they are docile.
What is docile?
Docile means that they agree. Docile is, I don't know what the word in Hebrew is. Docile means that they remain quiet and do not resist. Not in the situation of resisting. Docile. Farm animals are docile. They just let you do whatever they want, whatever you want with them. But yes, I feel also tired. And I think that this is all of the paragraphs that we just read are very important, and I want to go deeply into them. So maybe we can close this quickly close this first part of the discussion and do a second part. Maybe we'll do the second part on your channel in a few days. What do you say?
Nice idea, yeah.
Just to mix it up a little bit.
Yeah, and it's a good, I feel like it's a good, it's like thought-provoking, like
Yes,
you,
yes.
and it's talking about the fundamental issues. So.
Yes, and I think it can guide us in the correct direction of this discussion to go deep and to really understand what's going on with this support of this wonderful text by this very interesting and intelligent woman called Simone Weil.
Yeah, and let's take it to conclusion. We want to seek justice that is based on mutual consent.
Yes,
We want to see all the beings that are involved being in consent to their situation and not
yes,
not being imposed by force. Right? This is
yes. We want a world full of love, full of beauty, full of creation,
yeah,
full of joy, full of happiness,
yeah,
full of prosperity. And for this, there are some necessary conditions.
mhm,
And these necessary conditions, we started describing the system of necessary conditions, and the necessary conditions are love, are justice, are equality. Why? Because love despises injustice.
yeah,
Because justice necessitates equality, because when there is no equality, then no justice can be present.
yeah, and that's why love
Yes.
also. Because we talked in the beginning of this live about the new age and like love, love, love. But if we just fall into this shallow understanding of love, we don't expose relations of power, and we helping them being we help like to put them behind the veil, and we want to Veil, Simone Weil. Yeah,
Yeah,
but we want to expose them. We want
Yes.
to expose that when like people say there is no power relations between Israelis and Palestinians. It's not true. We need to
Yes, it's
expose.
ridiculous.
Yeah, but Zionists always try to either to say we are the victims or
Yes.
that it's somehow. Like this post you read me today that some woman said like somehow that the demand of the Palestinians for right of return is equal in its desire for land, like these messianic settlers, like
Yes.
because that they're both are focused on the land, like as if like the colonizer who wants the land to steal it is the same as the one who like being
who says I need the land to live, and I want
yeah.
it back. It was my land. It was like where I lived, and you just took it.
Yeah, to put
for yourself.
equation where there is no.
Yes. Okay, so I think that this was a very productive session, and I hope you all enjoyed it. In the audience who watched it live, participated live, and also the audience who watches it after the fact on my YouTube channel. I think it's a good beginning of something. I think we started two very interesting things today. One of them is like trying to do exercises that are less intellectual, less conversational, and more like connected to the body and connected to something that is more earthly, material. I don't know. And the other thing that we started is trying to use philosophy, like this broad thing called philosophy, to enrich our minds, to study, to understand what is going on here, and to focus our discussion and deepen our discussion and enrich our discussion. And I think these are both good paths that we should continue walking. And let's agree that in a few days, maybe, are we planning to meet this Monday? This upcoming Monday? Like Monday of next week?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Was the...
So let's tentatively say that our plan will be to do a part 2 of this discussion on your channel, Sound of Anarchy, this coming Monday.
Yeah, again, and I hope to activate it more also with music and lessons and things. I need to Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I think the most important thing is to continue. Okay.
To continue.
And as I said, I was very low on energy in the last few days, and I see that there's a resistance, not the good kind of resistance, the bad kind of resistance
that pushes you down.
Yes, the bad kind of resistance that I experience all the time, being surrounded by,
Oppressive.
yes, oppressive systems, oppressive people, detached people who are not in a good place and doing things that are the
But
opposite of what I would want to see.
Yeah, but we need to also think. When you meet people that bring you down, you can say, oh, they like. You can look at them as your oppressors, but you can also look at them as oppressed people that you can bring up when you're not surrendering to these things. So many ways to look at it. Yeah.
Yes, but the point is that I was feeling low on energy, and I think it's important to continue even though we feel low on energy, to bring ourselves as we are.
Right.
Okay, and to try to get energy from what we're doing, and to try to give people energy with what we are doing, and let's hope we can do this more and more and more. And I think consistency is a very important thing here.
Thank you guys.
Okay, so we've been going on over 2 hours now. We crossed the 2-hour mark. So thank you everyone who were with us. We are sorry that we couldn't read more comments. It's a lot. Okay, so maybe we will do a few sessions where we only read comments and only engage with you guys.
Maybe there's people who want to raise subjects for discussions.
Yes,
to help us think about it.
Yes, and also one of the things that we want to do is be creative and try new things all the time, and take this platform, this space that is being created here in new directions, and to try to use it to say meaningful things, to learn ourselves, to help others learn, and to create something that will be more and more substantive, and maybe even create some change in the world, hopefully.
Yeah.
Okay, so again, thank you everybody, and peace and justice for all. Free Palestine, free the entire planet, free all living beings. Bye-bye.
Bye.